and gentlemen, it's great to be here. And this is a very important topic in the context of what's happened with Operation Sindoor. On the 7th night, we have carried out attacks on terror infrastructure in Pakistan. What happened after that, Pakistan retaliated and India carried out a very successful operation, very precise operation on air bases in Pakistan. The reason why I'm talking about this is that operation has once again emphasized the fact that we need self-reliance. Self-reliance in defense, self-reliance in manufacturing, self-reliance in supply chains and skilling. National security is not the role of our defense forces alone. They've done a wonderful job. But now when it comes to national security, you have to think about semiconductors, you have to think about ports, trade, infrastructure, be self-reliant in every way. Energy security, food security, it's got multiple things all together. So I'm going to kick this off with very distinguished guests that we have with us, Mr. Jayant Singh, who's the chairman of the Land Port Authority, and Mr. Dnyaneshwar Mulay. Mr. Mulay has been our ambassador to the Maldives, secretary of the Consular and Passport Division in the Ministry of External Affairs as well, and tremendous experience in diplomacy and skilling. Currently, he's an advisor at the National Skill Development Corporation. Mr. Jayant Singh, let me begin with you. The conversation around Atmanirbharta and self-reliance today is even greater. Give us a sense of what's your view. Today anybody can weaponize trade, anybody can weaponize supply chains. What's your view on what do we need to do in order to be more ready for our industrial progress and to empower our people?
That's a very, very strategic question. In fact, I really don't know how to attack it, because it is perhaps, to quote a very strategic parlance where Mr. Dr. Mulay perhaps would be better equipped. And what you alluded to, if we were having a conversation outside the comprehensive national power, it has to be a sum total of whole lot of things. The state capacity, the capacity of the society or the country to secure itself from external, internal shocks, at the same time maintaining a trajectory of growth so that the country and society at large is able to realize the vision that it has set for itself, which has been time and again been articulated beautifully in the Vision 2047, and also, this whole idea about convergence of different sectors. So from that point of view, where I would see the critical areas would of course be how you develop state capacity. So that would include, if we start from, bottoms up, skilling, improving the state capacity, improving our governance, making it more, having, abstract things like rule of law, etc., in place, ease of doing business. That on one side, but we have to look at the hard part of it, the hard infrastructure, logistics, connectivity, making sure that anything that is relevant, that is useful from the point of view of growth and development, should be a given. For example, even you mentioned about Operation Sindoor and everything. So this is basically a convergence of science and tech. It is convergence of, on the science and tech on one hand, the armed forces, the weapon systems, etc. on the other. The strategic sense to deploy these vectors the way they were deployed, and managing the external environment. So everything kind of converges, and logistics infrastructure is critical, because these are perhaps the foundation on which the entire edifice would rest.
Right. When it comes to the Land Port Authority, Mr. Jayant Singh is heading an organization which is responsible for 15 ports in the country. Ladies and gentlemen, they do almost 80,000 crores of trade volumes per year. I'm going to come to that. They were also responsible for the Atari border, which was shut overnight after the Pahalgam attack also took place. Let me get in Ambassador Dnyaneshwar Mulay at this point. Ambassador Mulay, the role of skilling, I think it's going to be extremely important. Today, when we speak about Atmanirbharta or self-reliance in semiconductors, the gap is in having a skilled workforce. Operation Sindoor, the impact and the need for having a future-ready workforce. What is the gravity of the situation, and what do we need to do now?
Well, I think we should start from what Prime Minister thinks about it. He wants India to be the skill capital of the world. He also wants India to be the HR capital of the world. So that's the vision. It's also kind of a huge opportunity for Indian people, Indian industry, those who are involved in skilling and training, because most of the developed world now is facing the problems of declining population. Either it is static or declining. Well, just to give you one example, Europe alone till 2030 requires 2 crore people, 20 million people they require. And where are they going to get it from? Not Philippines, not Vietnam. It has to be India if the number has to be big. So this is just one opportunity that is there. And then you have this huge landscape of India. Currently, vibrant activities are going on, and poetry is one sector. In fact, I had the opportunity to meet Mr. Wagh recently, twice in Mumbai. And he told me that we need 12 lakh people in the coming years. Now, where do you get 12 lakh people who are trained, skilled, and are fit for a particular job role? That's where I think organizations like NSDC, which have tried to build a vision for India's skilling, they come in picture. And I must say that we should be proud of NSDC, the kind of work that we are trying to do. It's a work in progress, but nevertheless, we have a huge ecosystem now, which has educational institutions, schools, NGOs, government organizations. In fact, the formation of NSDC itself, with 49% of government participation and 51 by the industry organizations, it's a unique creation. It has the advantage of being a government body, at the same time, the dynamism of corporate sector. So I think whether it is a war or peace, for India, this is a golden opportunity to cater our manpower, and therefore creating that capacity is extremely important right now.
Yes, and peacetime is important because it is in peacetime that you build strength for the future. Coming to you, Mr. Singh, and I'd like to ask you about the importance of our land port infrastructure. 15 ports is what you handle. Give us a sense of how the trade volumes have been increasing, and what is your outlook on that front, sir?
So let me put this whole thing in perspective. Why land ports? What exactly are land ports? And honestly, until I joined, I really didn't have the idea of the scale and the magnitude of traffic, the cargo that we are handling. So essentially, over the years, what we've had on our borders were the land customs station, or there were immigration checkpoints. And with other 2 friendly foreign countries on our eastern borders, and that is in Nepal and Bhutan, there's a free movement regime, especially of passengers. So it was, you had so many agencies. You had the customs, you had the Bureau of Immigration, we had the plant animal quarantine, you had the border guarding forces. Everybody were operating with a separate mandate. So the idea was to have all these stakeholders under one platform, under one roof, so that you are able to, A, provide facilities, and at the same time do not compromise on the security dimension of it. Because if we have Nepal and Bhutan on the one hand, we also have Myanmar and Bangladesh on the other. So all these things had to be balanced. So that was the idea behind creation of this authority, although it was conceptualized way back in 2010, 2012. But from 2016, it really got into action big time. And the government realizing the importance of regional connectivity on the one hand, because our entire outlook towards border management has changed in the last about 10 years or so, whereby they are not being seen as something ki aap usko leave it, in a very neglected, decrepit kind of fashion in case of an attack. That was a very defeatist and a defensive mindset. We are now projecting it forward. These are now the land ports and the border development that is happening. It is basically with the view to, A, integrate the people, provide secure borders on the one hand, and also project these points as some sort of a soft power projection. So we have nice airport-like facilities there, good custom cargo handling facilities, all amenities that you would see in an airport. So much so now that we are looking, if really one wishes to see some sort of a paradigm, it should be the Dera Baba Nanak port, which is for, the Kartarpur Sahib corridor. It is swankier, very better maintained, better handled, better equipped than any airport. A mid-sized airport in the country. So that is what we were looking at. That was one side. The other side is this, as you rightly pointed out, given the size of the economies of, South Asia, if you see it as a block, as a trading block, as as an economic bloc, is one of the fastest growing regions in the world in terms of, GDP growth, especially what the growth that Bangladesh also has witnessed. India, of course, has been growing everything. But we are one of the least traded blocs in the world. And one reason why the quantum of trade has been less is that there haven't been adequate infrastructure, be it the railroad connectivity, and now today you need optic fiber connectivity, you need multimodal facilities, you need cargo handling facilities, you need passenger handling facilities. So nothing like this existed. I mean, you see the cross-border movement happening in Europe or even between Canada and the US.
Right.
Such is the potential. So with that idea, government has come up with this. We have 15 now, out of which I would say 5 or 6 are good, still a work in progress. But the target that we set for ourselves, as you know, Prime Minister always said it's very high. Our target is very difficult. This is 89. We want to commission 89 in the next about 2 decades. So the idea is that borders, these ports become actually engines of growth for the local economy and society on the one hand. Then they project the soft power. You have good facilities there, so that, you know, there's so much of local trade happening. You go to any border, Nepal border pe jaiye, Bhutan border, itna local trade ho raha hai, but it's so disorganized. I mean, the unit of transaction is head load even now on paper. So
Right.
you want to change that paradigm completely.
Okay, I'm going to get in Ambassador Mulay on that. Ambassador Mulay, what would your view, very strong outlook that's come from Mr. Jayant Singh on how India wants to have multiple land ports. 80 you said, sir?
89 we have to commission by 2047.
89 land ports we have to
Out of-
commission
we
by
have 15 now.
2047. So
6
that's a big number. But could you give us a sense, when we have relations with Bangladesh, Nepal, with Bhutan for that matter, Afghanistan, how can we use land ports, this infrastructure, to have closer trading linkages and bilateral relationship? We've been speaking about BIMSTEC, closer linkages between BIMSTEC nations, SAARC minus Pakistan. But how do you think we can maximize this infrastructure to be #1 trading partners for the neighborhood?
Well, I think you're absolutely right. Perhaps we have not used this opportunity to the extent we should have used. One often sees, and eventually, as and when the peace returns with Pakistan, we have a, some kind of a accomplishment of what we want. Having trade is a good idea in the long term, because things go to Pakistan right now through Dubai and Singapore and whatnot, making it very expensive affair, and it also reduces the profit levels. You mentioned about Bhutan, Nepal. I think better economic integration is the long-term view, without disturbing the sovereignty part of these nations. We need to create more trust. A lot of people are coming to India saying that, can India help us in building capacity in Nepal, for example? Same with Bangladeshis, because there are countries, not only India, there are other countries also might be facing similar issue of people being trafficked or people somehow landing in these countries and becoming problem, particularly in case of, to some extent India also, and certainly Bangladesh. So having a kind of a cordial relationship where we can involve in capacity building, talent building, and talent mobility, some kind of a joint action can certainly help. NSDC has had some interaction with Nepal government in the recent past. They have also shown some interest. So we're trying to see whether we can establish some skilling centers in that country. So similarly, opportunities exist. This will also, to some extent, neutralize the animosity and the big brother syndrome that these countries have. If we extend our hand of cooperation and help and assistance, as it is, we are always the first responders.
First responder, absolutely.
So
Without conditions attached.
Yes.
Without conditions
Absolutely.
attached. Yes, sir.
So I just wanted to, in fact, I'm glad you brought out this point, because there are two sides to it. There is a lot of local trade happening across our borders are, unfortunately, they go against history, they go against geography in every which way. These were very artificially constructed boundaries for whatever history that over which we really had no control, especially in the last, about 200 years or so. So these areas, they had a very vibrant trading ecosystem. As Nepal would say कि भाई रोटी बेटी का रिश्ता है या दाल भात का रिश्ता है हमारा. So there was an ease of movement. Similarly with Bangladesh, you look at Myanmar, look at Pakistan. I mean, it's pathetic actually, the kind of potential we have, not only in trading with Pakistan, but using our western borders as a gateway to West Asia, to Central Asia, to the Caucasus and beyond. I mean, the whole idea of IMEC corridor or INSTC is predicated on having very vibrant trading connections through our western borders. And it is a very symbiotic thing. You know, it's a total win-win situation. It is just because of you have the state captured by certain entities, like you have on the western borders, you have an organization called Militarying, beautiful book by Ayesha Siddiqa. Ayesha Siddiqa, I think everybody here should read that book. How then, you know, when the army captures these institutions, then trade can take a backseat. But you look at the people, you talk to them one-on-one. People want trade. People want connectivity. People want that free movement, because it benefits everybody. Luckily, we are better equipped now than ever before because we have the technology as an enabler. We have these, you know, the retinal scans, we have the biometrics. So anything going awry, that threat is mitigated. We have better intelligence. And why should we be defensive? We have to be, हमें front foot पे batting करना है इस पे. As a country, as a region, हमें front foot पे batting करना है because disaster management, trade, manufacturing and people. I mean, North ki, we always equate demography of the North with demography of India, but if you see overall picture, our total fertility rate is actually down.
Right.
We are losing population. We'll also need skilled people. So let it look at it more strategically.
So, Mr. Singh, and a question that I would like to ask you, and that is something that Mr. Mulay can also respond to, is what is the kind of employment opportunity that you see at India's ports over the next 2 decades? Do you face a shortfall in skilled workforce right now, and where can the National Skill Development Corporation help?
Thanks again. You asked this question because it's not about numbers; it's about the skilling. So I will cover all sectors because I've worked in shipping 3 years before I joined NITI and before I came here. And I'm a railway man actually, that's my parent organization. So there is, shipping industry, shipbuilding industry, shipbuilding and maintenance industry, the maintenance and repair infrastructure for civil aviation, and of course, as we know, in the automobile. We talk about AI and, robotics and everything. The fact remains that these are essentially, shipbuilding in particular, very labor-intensive industries. And the kind of crises that we are seeing, demographic crises in Japan and in South Korea, and now increasingly in China also, it is very, very natural that the global shipbuilding focus should gravitate towards India, and a lot of interventions have been made, especially the budget pronouncement this year, the shipbuilding assistance fund, and the couple of missions that have been announced in the budget. So the shipbuilding corridors all along our coastal, eastern and the western coast, and they have tremendous potential for employment generation. So we won't have these isolated pockets in Gujarat or around Bombay or in Goa, but all around our eastern and the western coast. And state governments here have been very, very proactive, Andhra Pradesh in particular. So that is one area where a lot of employment will be generated. So we have to be prepared. In the next 3 or 4 years, we have to have skilled manpower here. That is one area. The second area is going to be the service sector, especially managing these ports, because a lot of handling, a lot of other value-added services are required. We will need skilled techno-managerial people. Today, I've worked in Concor, other than Container Corporation of India, we don't have a dedicated cadre of multimodal logistics management anywhere. Everything is very iterative. It's not organized, so we need to work on that. Then, of course, leveraging our digital infrastructure, digital public infrastructure. We have invested a lot in DPI all along the country, along our border. Now, how do we leverage that? A lot of services will come in. I'll give you a small example. When you talk about tourism in India, tourism में हमारा जो देखा जाए, maximum हमारे tourists Bangladesh और adjoining areas आते हैं. क्यों हैं? Most of them are actually medical tourists. They are here for treatment. Now, why should they come all the way to Max Hospital or whatever in Delhi for all this? If they can be at least diagnosed, if we can run good quality diagnostics at the border, You take care of the security dimension also, and you take care of the treatment dimension, and you make it cheap for them. So it's a win-win. So these are the areas where we need more and more skilled people. I think your organization, sir, has a very
So, Mr. Singh, have you ever made any kind of assessment as to how many people would India need, for example, at ports, port infrastructure over the next 2
No,
decades?
I really won't be able to give you numbers, but let me tell you, a good shipyard will have more than 1,000 people working.
More than 1,000
And we have
people
so many shipyards coming in now with Hyundais and Daewoo's of the world. If everything goes on right, we'll have these shipyards coming up. We will become the hub. If we intend becoming the, hub for merchant marine, for container manufacturing, I think we'll need lots and lots of people.
Lots
and then
and
a lot
lots
of
of people.
other value chain that get created in the process.
Okay, Ambassador Mulay, what's your view? What can NSDC, what can we do as a whole of government approach to make sure that not just people, not just quantity of people, but the right skilled people are available?
I think skilling our people essentially means nation building. And earlier you mentioned about semiconductor. Same is the case with aero industry. Same is going to be the case with railway infrastructure in the country.
Artificial intelligence, drones.
Yes,
Drones, yeah. Aeronautics is going to be big.
technology, AI. So currently the whole world is undergoing a kind of a churning on this. But countries like India, which has huge social inequality issue, will have big challenges. You must have read the book Yuval Harari's 21, issues for 21st century, something of that sort, or challenges. And he predicts that by, say, 2027, 1/3 of the world population will turn into useless generation. Useless generation in the sense that they would not have the skill to undertake a job. Now, it may be exaggeration or maybe it might be true. Either ways, we need to face this challenge. We have, in NSDC, we are undertaking huge skilling programs. For example, a few million people being trained in construction alone, because that is going to be a need both in India and overseas. Similar activities being undertaken. We have about 28,000 skill centers all over the country. And at this particular point of time, actually millions of Indians are undergoing different kind of training. So NSDC is not necessarily only in skilling. We are also trying to import the best skills that are available in any country. We are working with Harvard's London School of Economics to bring the best practices also.
So tell me something, we have ITIs all across
Yes,
the country,
yes.
which somehow have been the backbone of supplying skilled workforce, technicians to the manufacturing centers.
Correct.
Is it time now to revamp them, and what is the exercise
I think it's
underway?
very much, if I understand correctly, the Ministry of Skills and Entrepreneurship is very much seized of this issue. They have tried to upgrade the ITIs because many of them had 20-year-old machinery, which is
curriculum.
today is not relevant at all. And those who are trained there may not necessarily understand if they enter a workshop, shop floor, they won't understand what kind of machinery is there. So I think that there is a huge effort now undergoing to revamp them, upgrade them, and that is the backbone, traditional backbone of Indian industry has been ITI, and we can definitely do a lot with them.
All right.
I just to supplement Dr. Mulay here about the ITIs and skilling. There are two or three sides to it, which one has to be very cognizant of, and few policy interventions have gone in those directions. See, one is skilling and getting a proper certification, because skilling without ensuring employability won't address the problem, and then addressing the addressing the supply-demand mismatch. Today, if you look in Delhi, we are all in Delhi. If you want a good plumber for your house, it's very hard to find a good plumber or a very skilled electrician. Whereas there will be a very well-skilled plumber or a good skilled electrician available, but he doesn't know that there is some job prospect here. So matching the demand and supplies is one challenge. The other challenge would be the certification. Because if you want to export your skilled labor abroad, say that demand is big, say about they would need a big construction project, say in Europe or in America, they would suddenly one fine day require about 120, welders, or they might need about 200 masons. Suddenly, kahan se leke aayenge? How will you certify them?
And we're already seeing
that is two challenges. Yeah. Then another challenge here, other than addressing demand and supply mismatch, would be how do you leverage the existing skills? Now, for all its minuses, the fact that certain communities, certain elements in our society have over generations acquired a certain skill. How do we preserve that skill? Because ultimate objective kya hai? Ultimate objective is to improve the factor productivity of labor. So if you are able to do it more, better, through the traditional skills, why not? Point is then how do we integrate that with the skill and labor scenario here at a macro level? So when you, the reason I am talking about this is when you talked about the revamping of ITIs, I think a lot of the skill development and employability has to come from bottoms up. यहाँ से बैठ के we cannot issue फरमान ऐसे करें because geography is varied, social dynamics are different, local economies are different, the scale is different, the skill sets that are required vary from region to region. You can't have a one-size-fit-all solution. So a couple of initiatives which were announced, in fact, I don't know, sir, how is the apprenticeship program going, but that was a fantastic intervention. Because if you see the evolution of Germany's Mittelstand, it is entirely premised in terms of HR on the apprenticeship program. There they take their apprenticeship very seriously, and honestly, there's nothing better than a guy who's been apprentice for 1, 2, 3 years. The kind of skill he learns on the job, it's better than any goddamn degree you give him. The joke hai na wo ki our engineers, our best mechanical engineers, they can't take apart a car. No, they can't. They are very good. We are good mechanical engineer examinees. But you need people who can work with their hands or work with the machine. So there's a third side we have to look at.
That's very important. Practical experience is extremely important. What I'd also like to ask you, Mr. Singh, about the importance of Gati Shakti. Give us a sense of where we've reached with the Gati Shakti logistics program, and how have our land ports been linked to Gati Shakti, and how has it all been progressing so far?
So I won't talk about the technology of Gati Shakti. I mean all the different the layers of the GPS and all your remotes, NRSA, all the technologies that have gone in. Basically, what it has done, what it has translated to on ground, is that there is a very good convergence of all infrastructure service providers on a single platform, which is a great enabler because now it's now earlier what was happening that all departments, all railways, the roadways, the electric utilities, the state government, the state PWDs, the border roads, everybody was working in silos. So you really didn't know kiska kahan pe project ja raha hai, kiska alignment kahan pe ja raha hai. So that created two problems. A, we could not really optimize our resources as a nation on the one hand. B, that when you want to create value, you need to create it in such a manner that each mode, be it railways, roadways, waterways, shipping, civil aviation, it should there should be an amplification. They should act as a catalyst for the other. In one line, if I would say, you have to increase the quantum of multimodality and multimodal efficiencies. वो नहीं हो रहा था. So Gati Shakti to that extent has been an enabler. I'll give you two very small examples on how that can be achieved. There's a place called Jogi Hopa in Assam. It's about 70-80 kilometers west of Guwahati along Brahmaputra, Nagaon district. It's the largest multimodal terminal in that part of the world, where you have actually the convergence of rail, road, waterways, immense area, lot of area for warehousing, stacking, value addition, packing, unpacking, for aggregating, disaggregating, not only your containerized traffic but also your bulk traffic. And not only bulk traffic which is bound from Indian hinterland to the northeast, but also traffic coming from Bhutan to India, traffic going from Bhutan to Bangladesh via India. So this would not have been possible the way it has been made possible had it not been for Gati Shakti.
Right.
Coming to land ports was until some time back was not a part of the network planning group. It is now a part of that. So we are integrating a lot with Gati Shakti.
All right. My final question to Ambassador Mulay before we let both of you go. Would you have any thoughts, sir? Has the National Skill Development Corporation come up with any kind of numbers on what the union budget needs to do in terms of investment in skilling for the future? When we're talking about having a Viksit Bharat by 2047, what is that investment going to need in building a future-ready manpower?
Well, very difficult to indicate a figure, but I would say my thought is every ministry should effectively become a skilling center. And, because they have an understanding of what that sector needs, and they should play an active role, because as it is, NSDC is made of industry actually. Industry partners, they hold 51% of NSDC's shares. So every ministry, and then we should also, induce some kind of encouragement into the state level activities. State should also see that each ministry there should be provided the strong skilling budget. That is one way to go forward, and this thinking that skilling is NSDC job is absolutely wrong. Skilling is everybody's concern, everybody's job. Both private sector, public sector, NGOs, schools, universities, all need, get to involved into this. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Mulay, Mr. Jayant Singh, thank you so much for that wonderful session on the importance of ports, importance of skilling in having a Viksit Bharat, and thank you everyone in the audience for being so patient with us as well.